Question: how bad of an ally do you have to be for Canada, Britain, and Germany to warn their citizens about your country on the same day? Answer: Donald Trump bad. And I have all the details on this breaking story because today is that day. This story came to my attention via a post from Republicans Against Trump with this Inauguration Day quote from the Donald. The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world. The post was meant as sarcasm because today, just 2 months later, Trump is wrecking relationships with America's closest allies. And that respect, it is gone. In a moment, I'll break down the specific warnings those countries have issued and explain the impact on a major U.S. industry. But first, I want to set the stage. While looking to see what traditional media was saying about this story, I found this video by Mike Galsworthy. He's a leader in citizen journalism, and after watching this report, you'll understand why. He reveals the industry that I'm speaking of and sets up the warnings from Canada, Britain, and Germany to come.
Trump is tanking US tourism in terms of stories of tourists being maltreated. That really is going to change the dynamics, I'm sure of it. I've got some stories here that I've written down about one French scientist, 3 Germans, a Canadian and a Brit, that I just want to take you through so that you understand what is happening here, because these are stories that are now going wild. So first of all, the French scientist, this is probably the most recent story. He was denied entry to the US because he got there. They decided to search his phone and search his laptop. They found him having communicated sympathy with US scientists in terms of how Donald Trump has been treating the US science community, and decided that this was comparable to terrorism. And so he got turned around and sent back. But he got off, luckily, to just be accused of terrorism and denied entry. Because, let's now talk about the 3 Germans, all of whom have been detained by ICE. And there's Jessica, the tattoo artist, and that was a big story everywhere because she was kept for what? Over a month or something, including solitary detention, absolutely moved from place to place. Her friends and family utterly terrified before she finally got released. For what? For taking some tattoo kit through border. She was treated like that. And then there's the story of the Brit. Her name was Rebecca. She had 3 weeks of horrendous treatment also. And she's now back home in Wales. But she said she was treated as if she were Hannibal Lecter. She was chained by the wrists, around the waist, and in the ankles. She couldn't walk without the help of an ICE officer. What the crap is this?
The warnings that Republicans Against Trump were alluding to are revealed in the Newsweek headlines that read, Britain issues travel warnings to U.S. and Germany issues travel warnings to U.S. The UK version warned of potential arrest or detention if travelers failed to comply with visa and other requirements. But the German version added a weird twist that reiterates one of Trump's obsessive themes. It said, the U.S. Department of State said, we will only issue U.S. visas with a male or female sex marker that matches the applicant's biological sex. And here's the dire warning by Canada, delivered by Member of Parliament Charles Angus.
Over the last 3 months, our nation has faced an unprecedented threat from our nearest neighbor, a threat to our borders, a threat to our sovereignty, our threat to our very right to exist as an independent democratic nation. Donald Trump thought we were going to be an easy mark, that we'd be a pushover. Oh, how wrong he was. And now Canada standing up to him has made Canada the front line in the defense against the MAGA ideology. So no wonder Donald Trump and MAGA are feeling pretty angry at Canada. But what concerns me is the targeting of Canadian citizens who are crossing the border to work or to visit. We have seen too many stories of citizens being pulled out of airport lines and being fingerprinted and deported as though they were criminals. Citizens being kidnapped through illegal detention by ICE. And it's not just Canadians. We see the attack on backpackers, students, doctors, professors. I am here today to say to Canadians, to avoid travel to the United States if at all possible, and to call our government to stand up for our Canadian citizens who are being denied their rights by arbitrary detention in the United States today. Canada must stand up for our citizens and for the rule of law. Because what we're seeing, for example, with cops pulling over the folk duo Cassie and Maggie to harass them for being Canadian is not the actions of a democratic nation. People whose phones are being seized and searched for any kind of incriminating evidence that they're somehow progressive or woke, that's not the actions of a democratic nation. That is the creep of totalitarianism. That is the creep of fascism. And we need to call that out, because that is not what happens in a nation governed by the rule of law.
These actions by Trump and the resulting stories give credence to all the comparisons to Hitler. He is turning ICE and customs into a modern-day Gestapo, and it is guaranteed that the results are going to do grave damage to some of our biggest industries. When allies like Britain, Canada, and Germany warn their citizens about visiting the U.S., tourism drops. Fewer visitors means hotels, restaurants, and attractions lose billions. Business travel also takes a hit, making it harder for companies to attend events, attract talent, and close deals. These policies don't just hurt America's image, they create distrust and damage the economy. And I'll give the final word to Mike Galsworthy. Have a listen as he takes the travel chaos to the next level, and let it serve as a reminder that every one of Trump's diabolical policies hits like a shockwave with far-reaching negative consequences.
And all of these countries are predominantly white. So what do you think Middle Eastern potential tourists would think about going to the States at the moment, or those in Latin America, seeing how their Latino colleagues have also been treated by Donald Trump, let alone Africa or let alone Asia, right? So, but on top of this, if this is how Donald Trump treats his allies or ex-allies, he is also lining up another travel ban of 43 countries, which are those that are not America's, I will now say, ex-allies. So where's the tourism going to come from? Where's the business traffic going to come from? Trump is absolutely isolating America. Now, I wouldn't want to go to America at this stage. Absolutely not. I feel 10 times safer going to Ukraine, which is what I did last week, than going to America. I would not go there now for fear of my phone being searched. And it's questionable whether they can search your phone. Apparently, they can't demand your password, but they could absolutely abuse you if you didn't hand it over. But would I go to America with this phone here? Is this that I'm recording to you now, would that be considered anti-Trump propaganda and therefore terrorism, which would bang me up? Listen, I spent 2 years growing up in America. I went to school on those little yellow buses. Yes, I did. But I would not go there now.